Hey guys, it's Andrew at FloryPB, and this is going to be the reassembly of the Impact LCD. I'm going to go through the O-ring kit as we do this to do separate videos on each piece. For the O-ring stuff, or for the O-ring video, I polished all the brass pieces that I'm going to be using. This doesn't do much. It does a little bit in the case of like this piston, but it doesn't do enough to warrant the effort, because the effort to clean this stuff is very high. So if you're going to polish your brass pieces, and if you don't clean it properly and you don't get the polishing compound off it, it's going to eat your O-rings alive. So for longevity, I would never suggest someone polish things. For the video sake and to have nice, shiny, cool things, like this is a hammer. Hammers don't have to get polished at all. It doesn't touch anything. So, for that sake, don't polish your stuff. But, shiny video, great, polish stuff. Things you can polish, your breech rod and your rotor breech rods, you can definitely polish these. What I did with these and the other parts that were rusty is I put them in evapor-rust overnight, and then after I got them out of the evapor-rust, I polished them up. So that's something that can be done with those, but doesn't have to be done with anything. So we're going to assemble the body again, put this back together, and we'll start with the breech. I would put this O-ring in here, but because I'm making the O-ring video with this, I'm going to assemble this back in so it doesn't look crazy with the breech being out of the marker. So here's our two breech rods. We have the long and the short one. The long one goes in the back and the short one goes in the front on this particular marker, or the LCD. Like that. They're going to go in there. And I'm going to make sure I have the screws. These are the strange ones. These are Wentworth screws, which I think are those two, but I actually have some stainless ones for this. I'll be right there. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure why. It had to have been just because the thread fit. Why they went with Wentworth screws, which are some weird British pseudo freedom unit screw that's not a US standard screw thread size at all, but it is US. It is like an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch screw with a thread size on it. Just make sure these are the right ones. And they do take standard Allen keys. So yeah, I searched very far and wide to find some stainless ones, and I hoard the shit out of these because of that. But this is a premium build, and we're going to put them on this marker. I'm going to give this just a little oil. We've cleaned everything out. Want to make sure that's nice and lubed up. Could have cleaned that out better now I'm looking at it. Let the oil pump out any of the gunk that's left over in the roto breech. Let me grab the rag. So we'll slip the front one in. Push it down. All right, slip the rear one in as well. Push that down as well. I like to put a little grease on the back end of these too. Just because you don't want it to twist the breech. Like you're looking for that smooth action. I do that. And maybe the Wentworth threads are a little easier to find in England, but over here, and just search it online, they are incredibly difficult to find. So now, setting your breech and setting the position of your breech is very important to get the best quality shot you can. Ideally, you want it to be as far forward as you can make it by looking at the seams. So we're going to just crack that one loose and launch that on myself. And I'm not hitting anything. You want to make sure you don't hit the front. So we're going to just crack that loose. Tighten that one down. Still not hitting. Crack that loose. Now I hear them hitting the front. Let me see if I can push it off just by tightening this. Perfect. And I like to leave the Allen in there because you want to make sure that you're not rotating this screw while you're doing this. If you're rotating the screw, it means it's binding up. Back screw as well. So I push it all the way backwards. Realize that. Ooh. I need to modify this really quick. So I just remembered I had to cut this back one down a touch because of the bolt that was broken in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this extend it reach a touch. I'm just going to do it on the grinder real quick just to let me push forward, which is my goal here with this. I'll be right back. So yeah, I just there you go. I just put it in the drill chuck real quick and hit it with a file to just make the end a little extended tip on it so I can push past the threaded area. A little too good of a job. All right. Just a little more. Perfect. And you want that to be not super floppy. So it's got floppy again. I got to tighten this down again. But the front's touching. You got to let this work in a couple times. Make sure it's not rotating your screws so it doesn't get out of position. And you don't want it to flop. You want it to be able to do this, and you want to be able to make sure that this roto breech actually requires effort to move it, or else if it's very loose, it might lift off and unseal itself. Which, well, actually has a little burn on it too. Huh. Interesting. So our breech is set in a great spot. I really like where that is. I'm going to toss on a new old stock feed neck. I'm fairly confident this will just fit because it's got the right colorway. So give it a little CCM no rider. That looks sharp on there, I think. So now we're going to, I have a back plug. I don't have a front plug on this body. But we'll switch them out to be stainless, because we can. The right plug. You gotta make sure it's the right one. Yep. I'm gonna put a little bit of losing my mind, put a little bit of Teflon tape on it. I didn't need to remove this back one. But if I'm putting stainless steel stuff in it, let me just make everything stainless steel. And if people don't realize what this is the central air passage for the LPR to feed the solenoid. So that center hole there is where the air comes up. The valve, your foregrips here, your valve and LPR receive air through this hole down here. Goes up to the valve chamber. Your LPR pushes it forward. There's this little hole in the side in here which goes up to this center hole that goes all the way down to the back and then up to here after it's past your LPR, or to feed your LPR, I mean. So yeah, body should be set up now, so I'm going to put this off to the side. The trigger frame, I have an idea of what I'm going to do with this. It's going to take a little time. That's also going to go off to the side. It's going to be a little machining involved, most likely, on that. So I'm going to rebuild, or not rebuild, but just clean out the solenoid next, just to make sure that's good to go. And then we'll get started on some of the parts that we need to put together to use the O-ring kit. So let me grab my little screwdriver. Now, understanding your side, you have A towards the back and B towards the front. These face up. So we're going to pull off this next, the actual solenoid portion of it. This has 2 screws and a very tiny seal right in there. So I'm going to keep installing this the way I took it apart. Just you have the 2 screws there you need to take out. First, I'm going to take the front cap off. Note the SMC symbol points upwards. Again, that's got a very custom seal there. Now you can see the actual piston in there. We're going to lose these 2 screws that mount to the mounting plate. And that's the big piston we want to get to, the one that actually moves the air around, or the main part of the air. So that goes like that. And I think this piston is universal direction, but I try to make a conscious effort to keep it the same direction. So that's the way I took it out. That's the way everything is. I'm going to wipe this off. So I'm wiping it off camera, but I just flipped it in my hand. I'm talking out loud for like myself right now too, just to remember to flip it back. Now I flipped it back. So this is the way it went in the body. It's going to check the body, make sure that looks clean. It does. These normally look very clean. I cleaned off all the old gunk, which is just old lube, but it's quite dry, the old lube. So we give it a light greasing with the new lube. Does not need a lot. I'll put this right back in. Like that. I'm going to lose these two little screws here, because I want to just get a little lube on the face here. And put that on. And these are super small and light screws, so just give them a little torque down. Nothing hard. Do not kill these screws. They're just going to strip everything out. So we're going to put this down on its face. Let the two gold ones pop out. And again, it's going to give us a little light lubing. Slip this right on like this. And just a little snug, nothing tight. Do not go tight with that. Push those two back. Why is it bad at this point in my life? Just snug. So one final seal. Slip that back on like that. Okay. So we are back together with the solenoid, and now we can switch over to doing a few things that are for the actual O-ring kit. So we're going to pull out our O-ring kit, and the first thing we're going to do is put the solenoid back into the body on the marker. So we're going to grab our first seal, which is our solenoid gasket seal. If we look, we gotta make sure that it lines up through those two pins, and it lines up to all these holes here. That is the goal you're going for. So give it a little lube. Just make sure everything looks like it lines up, and it does. And now we're going to slip the solenoid back into the marker. sure it sits in its spot. We'll grab our retainer. It's a 2.5 millimeter Allen. I need my angel tool. Slip the Allen underneath of it. And once you get it in position, you can slide it that way. Put this back on, and we'll tighten this down with the Allen. Now your solenoid's locked in. You don't need to kill it. Don't like put it this way and reef on it. You're just going to blow a hole through your solenoid maybe. So don't kill it. I was going to tuck these wires in through the body. And I had a pick out here. Here it is. Just to get them out of the way for us. So that'll be the solenoid installed. I have some new screws for this too. I'm going to put some new screws on here. Let me go grab them. We have the little puck that goes in here as well. And these I think are 2 millimeter. Nice shiny new screws. So our solenoid's fully in the marker. Put that over to the side for right now. Next thing we will build will be the flash tank. So we get the flash tank back on the marker. And here are our flash tank pieces. I'm going to get another screw. So there's 2 more screws for this. Another pack of stainless. So the flash tank has a few different seals in it. You have the tank on the marker itself is assembled upside down. Like this. It sits in the front here on the marker. I should take a step back on that. I would like to install the LPR and the valve before I do the flash tank, or else I have to take the flash tank off to install that. So that's me just not thinking my order of operations correctly. Let's start with the valve, because that would be the top one here. That is 2 seals for the valve. We have our larger seal in the front. Which is a 015, and this is a 50 durometer to make it just easier to put together. Then an 012 for the back seal. Simple seals, just regular O-rings. I don't like that either. I'm going to, let me be right back. There's a burr in this valve. I don't know if I can get that on camera, but there's a burr in this valve. I don't like it. I'm going to go get a deburring tool real quick, and I'll clean off this burr. Alright, yeah, this is, that just looks bad. and it will hurt airflow. A little better. I don't know if I'm in focus. You guys can see me. I'm sorry. This is very difficult to try to film, but I do have some. Sorry, back to the valve install. We're going to take our cup seal, going to lightly lube it, just to try to help promote the initial seal. It should not need lube to seal it, but if you get that that little hiss down your barrel, a lot of the times that can be corrected just by a little bit of oil going down. Spring. Gonna lube the O-rings on the outside. I'll grab the body. And if you've never put a 50 durometer O-ring in one of these yet, it's such a different feeling when you push it past the threads in the front. All the way down. There she goes. Make sure it's lined up. Like to put a little lube on these just so they don't get rusty. Dump the valve spring in. That is now installed. Next we have our LPR assembly. So we're going to grab our LPR and all of our pieces. I'm going to clean off the shims real quick. These shims are a little busted up. Let me get some new shims. So I don't know how many shims I need yet, but we'll figure that out as we go. The LPR stuff will be right over here. We have this tiny O-ring. That's the hardest one to install. And then we have these two rings here. So one of these rings is a quad ring. It looks like a little square ring with two little ridges. If you guys can see that. Maybe you guys can see that, hopefully. So this quad ring is going to be used as your dynamic O-ring on the piston itself. And to install a quad ring, you got to make sure it's not twisted. See, if I put this in here like this, I don't know if you guys can see it. Focus. See, this is twisted. This looks okay right here, but the rest of it's twisted. So we're just going to keep working it around until it looks like it's two small O-rings and it's not twisted around on itself. So that's what you want to go for, is that. The bigger ring is a 50 durometer. It's a 015 again. But it's a soft ring to go on to the LPR body. And now we're going to pull out the little ring inside. Now if yours is working fine, you don't really have to do this part. You want to make sure that it doesn't fall in. You pull out the old ring. And this is a metric ring. It's a 4mm by 1.5 or something like that. Make sure you guys can see my hands. And these are kind of a pain to put in. So yeah, what you're looking to do is get a small O-ring, or sorry, a small Allen key or something, and you want to guide one side into the hole. Then you kind of push it in. Make sure I'm in. Sometimes these things go in easy, sometimes they are a pain. There it goes. In the hole, kind of a pain in the ass to do, but it's a 50 durometer ring, which is really good for the dynamic nature of this particular ring. Get a little lube on that. Do the check. Nice. It's really smooth. You get that pop sound, which is what you're looking for. So now let's load up our stack. They face, the bevel faces towards the piston, away from it. Stacks on top of itself like that, and then back away from itself. There were a few shims on this. I don't know what the pressure is going to be, but we will set that as we go. I'm going to put 2 shims on it. But first, we'll lube up the LPR body. Extra lube won't hurt in there. And we'll get this sent down the bore. And then we'll wrestle the piston in. And again, this is super, super easy to put those in. Make sure the spring clicks in like that. We'll lube up our other pin. And I'll push that down. Both of them are in. So now we're going to slip a couple shims down. And I'll just do that to myself. I'm going to lube this up a little more. Restack my spring stack. I just put a little lube on the spring stack in the form of oil. I grab my Angel tool. And now you're going to really feel the difference between a regular 70 durometer O-ring and the lighter stuff when you push it in. But that went in really nice. So the front end is mostly assembled. I'm going to pull that one out. I would like to get a front plug, which is in the bottom set. These are also 50 durometer. Another 015. I like to put a little lube on that. We'll do the other one while we're at it. Now I gave you a spare 015 in here, a 50 durometer, because these are just so common. Sorry guys, I lost my camera there. We are going to do the ram now. The ram O-rings, there are 6 O-rings if you fully disassemble the ram. You have your quad ring, which is going to go on the main shaft. Your U-cup O-ring, which goes in the front. Your 90 durometer hard 006 O-ring, which works with the snap ring to replace that O-ring. And then the 3 015s, which are 50 durometer that go on the outside of the ram. So we start with a quad ring. You snap it on. Make sure, like the other quad ring, that it's not twisted on itself and it looks like it's 2 rings going around. We'll lube this shiny guy up. And make sure it fits through. So, remove this O-ring too. And this O-ring from the old stuff. So here's the front cap. We have our one directional U-cup ring. So the back side that faces towards this brass piece has a little race in it. And then the front side is solid. This only works in one direction. This thing's kind of a pain to put on. Just be a little patient with it. And give it a little twist as you're putting it on. And it should work out for you. Make sure it looks flat. And that's perfect. We'll shove a little more lube up here. I actually want to wipe the threads off. Because I need a little Loctite. We're going to Loctite this back together. A little 242, which is blue Loctite for most people. This one's not brand new. Come on. This one brand new? Oh no, it just has that. You do not need the amount of Loctite on it that the original WDP setup had. We just need a little bit. Because you don't want this thing to come apart. That's going to be hand tight now. I'm going to snap on 2 of the bigger O-rings for the front. Feels good. it's nice and smooth. And the wiper's doing its job. Now we're going to slip on the back cap. Same deal. I'm getting rid of that O-ring and putting the new O-ring on. Just gonna wipe down the threads. Just a dab. So that's on. I actually don't have this as tight as I want it, so I'm just going to put it in the vise real quick. So that's off screen. I'm just using the Angel valve tool, or the Angel ram tool. Just give it one last tightening down. Make sure everything's looking good. What I like to do is put a little lube in the back hole and pull it forward, and do the opposite in the front hole. Make sure it's pumping the lube, which is what you want to see. You want to see it go away. You don't get access to these very often, so. And the beauty about it is you don't really need to access it very often. Finally, our last ring, which is a little snap ring O-ring, goes in there. We'll put our locker down. Go 3. You are. And we will set that in a second. Let me put the ram bumper on. And the ram. So a touch of tight. Just a touch. So let's make sure I get that tight too. So now our ram's on. I'll set the snap ring a little bit. This is by feel. That feels pretty right. You can adjust this more in the marker if it's not feeling right. But you just want it to be a bit of a snap. That might be too hard. Just helps to fight the first shot drop off as the ram's energizing. Lube up the outer O-rings. Again, I just like to lube, lube, lube. Now it's all clean. Spin it and just bring it in. I'm going to slip this in the tube. And the 50 durometer O-rings just slip in very nice. Put our tool in. I'm using a bolt out of like A4 or 04 speed. That's where I hit that too perfectly, I think. You're going to want to push this as forward as you can, your hammer. you want to keep twisting it forward because you want the bolt to snap in and push forward slightly to push into the breech. So you want that click. But not too much click, just enough. See, that's too much, can't do it. Closes, clicks. If I go any more. That's too much click. I like that right now. And again, we'll adjust that as we go. We just want to try to get the bolt as pushed forward as we can. Just like the breech. We got the breech pushed as forward as we can push it. And that's the goal. So our power tube is fully assembled. We have all new O-rings in it. We will do the flash tank next, which is this assembly here. Two bolts go with it, and there are 3 O-rings with the flash tank. On the top of the flash tank, you have an 008, which is a 50 durometer O-ring. That goes here. An 010, I believe, another 50 durometer that goes here. And then this section of the flash tank has another O-ring, a little bit bigger. That I believe is an 012. But I might have those wrong. We're going to put the small O-ring in that portion of the tank right there. That's going to be our medium O-ring. And then our bigger O-rings going down here. Like that. I'm going to get a little lube on these first. Just to help stick them in place. But you'll find that the 50 durometer O-rings just kind of want to stay in place better than the harder O-rings do. But even still, can be a pain. Make sure we're set up right. Yep. Sometimes you want to rotate this off to the side and spin it on like that. Just make sure you get it. It pops off. Give this one a little loop too. And that one seemed to like where it was. We got a 4mm key for this. Looks good. Make sure it looks all right. Let's grab the 3mm key. We'll just tighten that down. A little snug, nothing crazy. Same with this. Just a little snug. And the flash tank is now assembled with the new O-rings as well. You don't need the Loctite anymore. So next we'll keep assembling the O-ring kit. We're going to do our mini reg. Just grab the body. These got messed up, so we'll restack this. With the mini reg, which is the last piece we have here, we have first our bottom adjuster, which still has an old O-ring in it, which we got to take out. So this is going to have a few O-rings in it. This is going to have a bigger 012 quad ring, a smaller 006 quad ring, and then a smaller 50 durometer 006 traditional O-ring, and then a harder 90 durometer 015 O-ring for the outer here. The dynamic rings, or the quad rings, are going to go on the piston itself. And then the 50 durometer is going to go on the adjuster here. And the 50 durometer is not that hard to stretch over this. This is kind of a pain thing to stretch. Give that a little lube. A little too much, but we'll put the adjuster back in. Drop the ball bearing down. Give it a lube. I'm going to drop the piston in, or not the piston, but the adjustment. That goes on top of the ball valve, or that goes on top of the ball bearing. Now put that down. We have the larger O-ring, which is easier to get on. Which again, we slip it on, spin it, double check to make sure that it's not twisted on itself. And now we're going to do the small ring, which is more difficult, but not that bad. Click it in, spin it, make sure it works. We'll put this O-ring on too. Just cause. And it's our snap ring. Let me just double check my spring stack. Sorry about that. Just want to make sure I wasn't giving you guys the wrong information. We're going to lube this up. And now we're going to take this and point it away. The second one also gets pointed away. And so does the third one. So it makes like a triple spring. Now the next two point towards. Yeah, I'm getting a little grease on these as I go. And the final two point away. And that is your LCD stack up. This can slip in like that. Now I need my pliers, which I just had. There they are. Put the retainer back in. Make sure it's in. it in. A little lube up here. I'll get that guy back in like that. And now the O-ring kit is mostly complete. The only thing left is the breech seal and or the seal for the ball detent. So let me grab a ball detent, and I'm going to grab some glue to the breech seal. So I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we got the style detent from WDP. One of these breech O-rings can fit on this detent if you choose. This one's brand new, so I'm not going to do that. And it fits the theme, so I'm going to put the style O-ring on there, or the style detent. Look at that thing. Match the other phallic shaped things. So we're going to do the breech O-ring. This one's always a bit of a pain. We'll pull it out of the holder. There's two of them here. Could be for the detent, or could be if you mess it up. If you just put this thing in here, it will sit for a while, but chances are it's going to fall out. So you got to kind of glue this. That's what we're going to do. Grab a little bit of alcohol. I'm just going to clean this out real quick. Make sure that's okay. And prop the marker up. I got my super glue. Let's put it on a tool. Put it around the bottom there. Take this, drop it in, push it down, push it down. One more time there. And now the breech seal is glued in. That is it for the O-ring kit. We have a few extra O-rings here. I have two 90 durometer O-rings for your tank and or your reg if you would like to use them. I tend to like the 90 durometer, especially if you don't have like a bleeding on off. It lasts a whole lot longer going through the tank abuse, getting on and off. Plus another 015 50 durometer for any of the internal main seals. In case you messed one up, lost one, need it for something else, also fits a tank and fits most other paintball markers. That is it for the install of the O-rings. That is all the O-rings installed. Put the tin back together over here. Now it's just going to be going through the rest of the marker build. Put the bolt back in. And we really just have the back cap to put on. And then the frame to deal with. A spring somewhere. Clean up my mess a little bit. Let me get on some back cap screws as well. and I gotta find a spring. All right, get that cleaned up. Oh, what I didn't like, there's a burr on this too, same as the valve. Like how that sounds. All right, let me get a spring real quick and get some screws, and I'll be right back. All right, so we got our stuff. I'm gonna just get a little lube on this too, just to help prevent rust. We polished it a little bit just to prevent rust. Get our spring in. I'm gonna grab a board too, because we're gonna put a FloryPB board in this. Well, it actually kind of holds itself up. I'm gonna grab a board as well. Be right back, because I just want to put the switch in too. So a little foresight here. Let me grab a board so I can put this in as well. I don't want that to be over there. Okay. I'll probably have to take this off again, but I'm trying. Okay. Some more stainless steel screws. So I'm going to put this out like this. Cool. So with that, we are as wrapped up as we're going to be at this moment. The next part of the plan, obviously we're going to install the board, but I would like to fix, well, fix is the wrong word. I would like to do something with this trigger frame, because I really hate what happened to it. And I think my plan here is I'm going to take a woodruff cutter. I'm going to put this on my mill. I'm going to clean this up. I'm just going to machine it so it's a cleaned hole and it's not this hack job that's going on here. If I'm feeling real ambitious, I might try to plate that. But that's down the line with this. With the frame itself, it's going to get the FloryPB board, a FloryPB trigger, and my new buttons that are going to match this very nicely. Actually, let's see what I got. Like, these are going to look sharp. I basically made these buttons for this project because they look so good. looks so good in there with the copper, brass, and the titanium. So that's what's going to happen next with this. I'm going to put together the video for, well, I guess most of this video I'm going to put together anyway now. Where's the barrel for this thing? As I'm thinking this through as I'm talking to you. I'm sorry about that. But gotta find the barrel too for this thing, the creamsicle die boomstick that comes with this. And oh, there it is. Yeah, she's gonna look good. I have a new set of smoke die grips that go with this, brand new in box die grips that I have. Yeah, it's gonna look pretty cool, I think. And I'm gonna see, the next part you're gonna see is me machining the trigger. But I think that's it for this episode of this marker. And we're almost ready to shoot it, which is great. Can't wait to shoot it. And like I said earlier, I'm gonna auction this off when it's all said and done. So it's an Impact Angel LCD. I have some Impact stickers too that are going to come with it. I'll show that as well. This is leftover stuff from Impact Paintball, which was New Jersey's Angel dealer. So this is Andrew at FloryPB. This is the Impact LCD, almost together. That's it for this one. See ya.